Hey there, I'm Jeremy Peterson, and I'll be your instructor for this course. If you've ever been interested in what cryptocurrency is, or what NFTs are, or if you've even thought about making your own NFTs, then you're in the right place. In this course, I will take you through the basic steps needed to understand what cryptocurrencies are and how they work, what NFTs are, and how you can start making your own NFTs and putting them up for sale. So let's get started. Hey there, I'm Jeremy Peterson, and I'll be your instructor for this course. If you've ever been interested in what cryptocurrency is, or what NFTs are, or if you've even thought about making your own NFTs, then you're in the right place. In this course, I will take you through the basic steps needed to understand what cryptocurrencies are and how they work, what NFTs are, and how you can start making your own NFTs and putting them up for sale. So let's get started. Hello there, and welcome to the course. I'm Jeremy Peterson, and I'm going to be showing you how you can make and sell your own NFTs. Now, this is a crash course, so it will be very short and very direct. For those of you who are interested in getting more background information, I will include links to other content in the course materials. With that said, let's jump in. So what will you learn? In this course, we're going to talk about what cryptocurrencies are, what an NFT is, what the Metaverse is, and then finally we'll talk about how you can create and sell your own NFTs. But before we can talk about any of that, we need to talk about something very important and very fundamental, something that underpins this entire cryptocurrency and NFT economy, and that is, what is money? What is money really? So without getting too technical, the money most of us use today is what you call fiat currency. That means it's created by government decree and it's backed by the power of a government. Often, that's all there is to it. For instance, this $100 bill here is not backed by an equivalent amount of gold or silver. It has the value of $100 because the American government says that it has the value of $100. The value of this type of money comes from laws and regulations. The government uses its powers to make sure that only the government can create and destroy money, so the government controls the money supply. Why does this work? Well, the short answer is, it works because we believe it does. So remember, money is just an idea. When you pay me $100, I accept that as payment from you because I believe that other people also believe in the power of money, and they will accept that $100 from me later on for goods and services. What I'm really saying here is money is an imaginary construct. Keep that in mind as we go through the course, and NFTs and cryptocurrency will make a lot more sense. So, how is that different from cryptocurrency? Is it just that traditional money is paper and coins and cryptocurrency is on a computer? Well, no. In fact, most of the traditional ordinary money like the US dollar that's in circulation today doesn't exist as paper money. Most of the money that sits in the world's banks is actually stored as records in an electronic database or ledger that the bank maintains, not as paper. The key difference is one of centralized control versus distributed control. In order to work properly, traditional money must be centralized. A single authority, a government, creates and controls the money, and it authorizes other organizations like banks to store and manage and record that money as it moves around the economy. And you need this system to be centralized because of two key problems. Copying, which is creating new money without permission. This is sometimes called counterfeiting. And double spending, which is where you create transactions with money that you do not have. If anyone was allowed to update the bank ledger, I could go in there and write something like, oh, Jeremy pays Fred $10,000. And I could do that whether or not I actually had $10,000. So you have to have a central authority, the bank, and they have to be the only one that's allowed to update the ledger. With counterfeiting, at least for paper money, governments control that through physical force. If I try to make copies of the US dollar, I will go to jail. People will actually come physically find me and send me to prison. So you need centralized control and power to keep normal money working. Essentially, the government makes the money and the banks manage the money. So you have these two sources of central authority. What makes cryptocurrencies so special is that they solve these problems of double spending and counterfeiting without a central authority. That's the cool thing about cryptocurrency. So how do they do this? There are three key ingredients. The first ingredient is cryptographically signed transactions. When someone adds a new record to a cryptocurrency ledger, they have to sign it with a cryptographic key that proves that they put the entry into the ledger and nobody else. The second ingredient is that the ledger is a shared public ledger. It's a document that everyone can see and verify and audit. The third ingredient is proof of work, which we won't get into detail on in this course, but essentially you make people do very complicated calculations in order to submit a new record to the ledger. This keeps people from creating arbitrary fake entries. So for the system to work, there has to be a shared public ledger like this one here, where every transaction has an ID number that is unique, a sender, a receiver, and an amount. This would be the minimum information we need to get the system working. Further, every row in the ledger has to be signed by the sender. So the sender has to provide some cryptographic proof that they put this line into the ledger. So each person who's writing to the ledger has a public key and a private key. Now, this is not a cryptography course, so we're not going to go into a lot of detail here. Just know that you share your public key with other people and you keep your private key a secret. If you sign a message with your private key, people who have your public key can verify or confirm that the message really comes from you. Also very important is the fact that the signature is not like a physical signature on a check from a bank. The signature changes based on the content of the message. So it's difficult, or in fact, almost impossible for someone to come along and alter your message. They would have to generate a new signature, which they can't do if they don't know your private key. This solves the double spending and copying problems because now we can mathematically prove that number one, each line was added by the sender and not by someone else, and number two, each line is unique. We know this because when we sign the message, we include the transaction ID while we're signing it. So if you tried to change the transaction ID, you'd have to change the signature, which again, you can't do unless you know the person's private key. This gets us 99% of the way there, but we still have a big problem. Who maintains the ledger? There still needs to be a central authority or a central master copy of the ledger. How can we get around that requirement? The most obvious way to do that is to give everybody a copy. Make everybody maintain their own complete copy of all the cryptocurrency transactions that have happened. And this is indeed what systems like Bitcoin actually do. But this creates two new problems. How do we make sure everybody records the same transactions in the same order? And if there are differences between my copy of the ledger and your copy and Bob's copy, how do we decide whose copy of the ledger is the correct one, the true one? So the way Bitcoin solves this is using something called the blockchain. Basically, the shared ledger of transactions is a chain of connected blocks or groups of transactions. This is actually where the term blockchain comes from. The blockchain itself might look something like this. Every block in the chain, except for the very first block ever, has a reference to the block that came before it. And you just keep chaining new blocks onto the end of the ledger as time goes by. Now, everybody in the system needs to have a copy of the whole blockchain, the whole list of transactions, and anybody can add a block. The clever part in a system like Bitcoin is how they prevent people from adding fake blocks. And this is such a complicated subject that I've put some links into the course material. You can dig deeper if you want, but essentially each block has a reference to the block that came before, and each block has to contain a magic number that makes the whole block come out a certain way when you run it through what's called a cryptographic hash. So you have to set up a special number that's part of the data in the block that makes the block come out of a hash function looking a certain way. And that's actually such a difficult mathematical problem to solve that it becomes prohibitively expensive to make fake blocks. You would have to have enormous computing power to do it. In fact, you'd have to have more computing power than about half of the people in the blockchain system. That is how fraud and fake transactions are prevented. All right, so with that background out of the way, let's talk about what an NFT is. So NFT stands for non-fungible token. Essentially, an NFT is like a digital certificate of authenticity. What makes an NFT different than, say, a Bitcoin? Bitcoins are fungible. Every Bitcoin in existence is equal to every other Bitcoin. They're all identical. And that's great because if you're trying to use a blockchain system like Bitcoin as a form of money, what you really want is for every dollar to be identical to every other dollar. NFTs, on the other hand, are what we call non-fungible, which is economist speak, meaning that each NFT is unique. NFTs are not identical to one another. They are totally unique little snowflakes. And this is good because what we can now do is take our NFTs and record them in a shared ledger, just like we did with our Bitcoins. Except now, each NFT has a clear, unique ID number that belongs to a particular person. So the blockchain now becomes a record of who owns what digital property. And again, we're depending on the blockchain technology here, the same thing that drives systems like Bitcoin. So the ledger guarantees that each NFT has only a single owner. Everybody can see who that owner is by reading the ledger, and the NFT cannot be stolen or broken into pieces. You can't forge or fake an NFT for the same reason that you can't forge or fake a Bitcoin. So why does any of that matter? Why would anybody want to have an NFT? That's where we have to talk about the metaverse. So what is the metaverse? Well, the truth is, nobody really knows. The metaverse is still in its infancy, but right now the focus is on building digital worlds, digital communities where people can interact with each other, buy and sell things, create things, attend events, build new things, buy and sell land, and even rent out space for other people to use. And as part of that metaverse marketplace that's evolving, people are starting to mint or create NFTs that correspond to digital art and to other digital assets inside the metaverse. That's where the interest in NFTs is coming from. It's a way to own a unique digital record that points to, say, a piece of art. Potentially, there's a big market for NFTs here, since digital items from clothing to avatars to art can all be turned into NFTs and then sold and traded within these virtual spaces. So if you wanted to go experience the metaverse, where would you go? Well, there's really no single answer. Because the metaverse is so new and so young, and because it's a concept rather than a company or a specific technology, many different people and organizations are creating worlds online that they consider to be part of the metaverse. Some of the more popular ones include Decentraland, which is essentially an online 3D event space, sort of like a game that you can log into, and The Sandbox, which is essentially an open world, sort of like a 3D world created by a gaming company, where you can buy land, build things, and share experiences with other people. So in the future, you might be able to go into The Sandbox, buy some land, set up a building, and then charge people for access to that building to see your virtual art gallery, for instance. So do you need to belong to one of these worlds to buy and sell NFTs? Well, luckily, no, you don't. All you need is a way to buy and sell crypto, an account on one of the popular NFT marketplaces, a little patience, and some money for gas fees. When you make a new NFT, it's not free. You actually have to pay someone a transaction fee for inserting your NFT into the Ethereum blockchain. And this looks daunting, but don't worry, it's not nearly as hard as it looks. Currently, there are two major marketplaces for NFTs, Rarible and OpenSea. We'll talk about how to sign up for and use both of those in just a little bit. Both of these markets will allow you to buy and sell NFTs using a currency called Ether and its associated blockchain, the Ethereum blockchain, which is where information about your NFTs will be created. And if you haven't learned anything else from this crash course so far, remember Ether and Ethereum. Almost all of this metaverse hype, almost all of these metaverse websites, they're all using Ether and the Ethereum blockchain as their underlying infrastructure. But that's enough talk. Let's go do it. All right, so now we actually need to have something that we can turn into an NFT. And it just so happens that I have been working through a tutorial to learn Blender, which is 3D rendering software, and I have been working hard on this donut and coffee here. So this is something I've been working hard to learn how to use this 3D software, and I've made myself a delicious chocolate donut and a coffee with a little spoon next to it on a little glass plate. So I'm going to render this using my computer. I'll render this into a PNG image file, and then I'll be able to turn that image file into an NFT. So let's do it. I should say, of course, that you don't need to know Blender or really any particular software to make an NFT. Any digital asset that you own, that you've created, can be turned into an NFT. And of course, technically, there's nothing to stop you from taking an existing image and turning it into an NFT, but please don't do that. It wouldn't be very ethical. You should really be making an NFT from something you've created. Right, so let me get my camera view set up here, and then I'll make my NFT. So I've got it set up so you can see the coffee, the donut, the spoon, the wall, and the table. Everything looks nice. There's some shadows. Now all I need to do is run a final render, which in Blender I do with F12. So let me pull that up, and now we just wait for the render to happen. Awesome, and now our render is done, so I can go ahead over to image, and we'll go ahead and save this image. So I've been keeping these in a renders folder here, so I guess I'll just keep with that convention, and we'll call it Donut Cup 05. And it's saved. So now all we need to do is go ahead and go sell it on OpenSea. And you know what? I'll create another slightly different looking scene to sell on Rarible. I want all of my NFTs to be unique. So let's go make a couple of alterations. Maybe we can change the lighting, change some colors, get some different looking stuff here for our Rarible item. So one thing that might be fun is to go ahead and make the icing glow. Let's give the subsurface coloring on the icing something a little bit more alien looking here. Maybe we'll make it like a sort of a turquoise green color. Yeah, that looks pretty spacey. And we might even be able to make it glow. Right, so what I've done here is I have boosted up the emission rate for the donut, and I've set it to this sort of bright turquoise color here. And I've set the base color for the icing also to be sort of a spooky green. And let's go ahead and adjust the lighting in the scene a little bit. We'll weaken the lights that are lighting the scene. And so we'll get sort of the impression that the scene is actually being lit by the donut itself, which is producing an eerie glow. And you know what? We'll also adjust the size of the light so we get some more intense shadows. And maybe we'll back the light off even a little bit more there. And yeah, now we get this weird glowing donut. So we get like a toxic Homer Simpson nuclear waste plant donut going on, and we'll render it. Ooh, so that was a little work from my laptop. Not sure if you can hear that, but the fan is really spinning. But now our render's done, and we have our creepy Chernobyl donut. So now I'm going to go ahead and save that. We will call it Donut Cup 06. And now we've got a second render that we can throw on Rarible. So we've got one for OpenSea and one for Rarible. Right, so before we go and actually create our first NFT, we need to do some initial setup. And you should start on this as early as you can. Some of these steps can take a while. The first thing you need is to be a member of an exchange. There are many different exchanges out there like FTX, Gemini, Binance, Coinbase. I'm using Coinbase in this case. And what the exchange does is it lets you buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency. So in this case, you can see here, I have purchased about $1,300 worth of Ethereum, or Ether as it's more colloquially known. That is the currency we're going to be using on the Ethereum blockchain when we're making and selling our NFTs. So I needed some Ether. So I set up a Coinbase account. I linked it to my US bank account since I'm an American citizen, and I took some money from that bank account and converted it into Ethereum through the exchange. So now that that's done, we also need to set up a wallet. And Coinbase can operate like a cryptocurrency wallet. You do have a wallet address in Coinbase, so you can send and receive money. But for the purposes of using OpenSea and Rarible, we're actually going to use a browser plugin called Metamask. So this is a crypto wallet and a common gateway application that gets you into blockchain-based apps like the Sandbox, like Decentraland, and the marketplaces like OpenSea and Rarible. So we need to have Metamask installed. You can see I've already got it installed here. Make sure, by the way, when you set up Metamask, that you write down your secret recovery password. So there's actually two passwords for Metamask. One of them is your standard password that you use to log in and use the wallet, and one of them is a recovery passphrase, which is made up of about a dozen random words that Metamask gives to you. If you lose that recovery passphrase and something happens, you have to reinstall the Metamask plugin or you switch computers or whatever. If you don't have that original recovery phrase, then you can't get into your wallet. And if you can't get into your wallet, any money you had in there is then gone. So definitely make sure you keep your Metamask password, and most importantly, random 12-word passphrase. Keep those written down somewhere. Keep them written down somewhere safe so you don't lose them. So as things stand currently, I don't have any currency inside MetaMask. I actually have to take some of my Ethereum from Coinbase and move it over into MetaMask. But we'll worry about that in a few minutes. The first thing I'm going to do is log into MetaMask itself and then use that to log into Rarible so we can start making an NFT. So let's do that. Okay, so I've unlocked my MetaMask wallet here. Great, looks like everything worked. I'm now ready to go. This up here, this account ID, this is what I'm going to use later to get money into the wallet. But again, we'll save that step for a little bit later. I want to go over to Rarible. And if you find it by doing a Google search, it is this first one here. It's the rarible.com. That's the one we want to head for. That is the Rarible NFT marketplace. So let's get on over there. And you'll see right away that one of the differences between Rarible and any other site you might have signed up for is you're not going to use a phone number or an email or anything like that. You're going to create an account using your MetaMask ID, your wallet ID for your MetaMask Ethereum wallet. That's actually how you're going to sign into the site. And excuse me, my internet connection is a little bit slow. I'll fast forward through once the site has loaded. Great, so we've loaded up the site. I'm going to go ahead and click on sign in, and you'll see there are a number of different wallet apps you can use to sign in. There's a lot of different wallet apps out there right now. MetaMask is one of the most popular, which is why I'm using it for the tutorial. So I'll choose sign in with MetaMask. You can see right away it links to that account one, my MetaMask account. Next, okay, connect, and that will connect us up to Rarible. And of course I have to agree to the terms of service. Once I do that, I'm in, and now we can go about buying and selling NFTs. So you'll see right away there's a button up at the top that says create. So I click on that, and this will allow me to create either a single one-off item, which is an item that there's only one copy of anywhere in the world. That's the rarest type of NFT you can create. Or I can create what's called a multiple, in which case I have an NFT that's part of a set. So similar to like a limited edition collector's item, I might have 100 or 1,000 copies of my NFT that I've minted. Typically what you'll be doing for individual pieces of art is you'll create a single NFT collectible. So I'll click on single and wait a minute for that to load up. And then I have to choose my asset. And you can see there's a limit right now of 100 megabytes, but it can be pretty much any common format, PNG, GIF, WebP, MP4 or MP3 audio. So I could make a song into an NFT, I could make a video file into an NFT, an animated GIF, or a PNG image. So what I've done from Blender is export to PNG. So that's what I'm going to upload. So in my case, what I have is a PNG. So I'll click on choose file. And after digging around for a bit, I've found all of my old renders. The one I want to turn into an NFT is this one here, Donut Cup 06, our glowing radioactive donut. Click open, loads it up there. And then I have the option to open it for bids, create a timed auction, or set a fixed price. And you'll see right here, there is a service fee for processing your order. So if someone buys this, some of the money goes to the Rarible platform. If you're an artist and you're going to be doing this a lot, you might want to set up a collection. In my case, I'm just creating this as a one-off, so we'll put this into Rarible singles. You can actually also set up some extra assets that go along with the NFT, which get unlocked or shared with the purchaser once they transfer the money to you. So if you wanted to maybe have a behind the scenes video or a making of video or some additional documents or high-res copies of the NFT that the user can unlock after they buy your copy, then you would turn on this unlocked when purchased option here, unlock once purchased, and that extra content would then become available to the buyer. In my case, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave that off. I'm just selling this one item. There's no extra additional stuff that I want to give to the buyer. I then need to give it a name and a description. I can also set a royalty amount, which is pretty cool. If someone resells the NFT later, I will receive a percentage of that sale. So let's stick with the default 10%, and I'll say Donuts of Chernobyl as the title. And I'll say what I imagine a radioactive donut might look like. All right, so there we go. So donuts of Chernobyl, what I imagine a radioactive donut might look like. And then there are some advanced settings down here. I can set properties and sizes and alt text. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to go ahead and hit create. And you'll see already it's complaining. So we go up, we have to give this thing a price. Given the current value of Ethereum, I really don't want to charge too much for this item. So let's go ahead and make this thing maybe be worth about that much, which is roughly $5 US. So I've set my price to $5. I can then scroll back down, create item. Great, and so now when we're in step 2 here, to mint or create the NFT, we have to sign this request. So I click sign, that's going to actually authorize us to make the NFT. And you can see we now have to sign again to put it on sale. I'll go ahead and do that, click sign. And it was created. And you know what? Actually, I did not have to pay a gas fee. So normally there's a fee that you pay for minting an NFT or for processing a transaction. It looks like Rarible took care of that for me. So I actually got to create this for free, which is pretty cool. So now that I've done that, I can make another NFT or I can view my NFT. I can go check it out, see how it's doing in the marketplace. And if I'm feeling a little boastful, if I want to show off to my friends, I can even post this to Twitter or Facebook or Telegram or even send an email. I'm not going to do that. I'll just click on View NFT, and we'll go see my brand new NFT that's on sale for $5. And there we go. I can remove it from sale if I want, or share it with other people, or just leave it up and see if anybody wants to buy. And that's it. We've now created our first NFT on Rarible. That's really all there is to it. And that's it. That's really all there is to it. So this brings us to the end of the course. I want to thank you for joining me. And if you have any feedback about the course, be sure to share. I love the feedback. It's very helpful to me, and I will use your feedback to update the course. So hope to see you in the future. Bye-bye. Base wallets. I'm going to stick with Metamask for now. And you can see here, I need to do the same thing I did before. I authorize Metamask to connect to this new site, and then we're in our OpenSea account. And of course, there's a create button up here on the upper right hand side. So I go ahead and click on create, and then we'll sign and create new item. And there's a very similar dialog here to the one that we saw on Rarible. So we'll do the same thing this time with a different picture. So it looks like I can upload images, video, audio, or even 3D models. It looks like they support some 3D model formats like GLTF, which is really cool. So if I had a whole 3D model I wanted to upload, I could actually do that in here. So OpenSea has a couple more options than Rarible does. And this time we'll go with my chocolate donut, and I'll call it Chocolatey Goodness. Chocolatey Goodness seems like a good name. So good, you could almost, or so good, it's almost real. We'll put that in as the description. I will not add it to any particular collection. I don't need to add any properties or levels or stats or any of this other stuff. These are just sort of additional data that you can associate with NFTs on OpenSea. Again, you can add unlockable content, which I won't do. And another feature of OpenSea, it's a slightly more open marketplace than Rarible is, in the sense that you can put up really almost anything you want. Rarible has more limited terms of service. OpenSea is, well, it's more like the open sea, if you will. So I can put explicit content on here, or even pornography. In my case, this is just a donut, so I don't need to tick this radio button here. If you were selling something a little bit more adult, you might want to tick that box. And I will set the supply to 1. There will be 1 of this NFT, and we will use the Ethereum blockchain. Great, so I will go ahead and click create, and we'll go through the signing process again, just like we did on Rarible. Great, you created Chocolatey Goodness. Right, so we're now actually ready to list the item for sale. We're not quite done yet. We actually have to set up an auction or set a fixed price for the item, and then we can list it for sale. So the way that most things are sold on OpenSea is actually through a timed auction. So in this case, you set a minimum starting price, and then you set a time limit like 7 days or 2 weeks or whatever, and give people an opportunity to bid for the item. In my case, actually, you know what? Let's stick with fixed price. I like doing a fixed price. You'll also notice there's a slight difference between timed auctions and fixed price sales, in that the currency that's used seems to be different. So what's going on with that? So if I choose timed auction, the price is listed in something called WETH, or wrapped Ethereum. This is because in the auction format, you need a way to guarantee that the people placing the bids can actually pay up. So you have them convert their Ethereum in advance to this sort of pre-prepped package of Ethereum, the wrapped Ethereum, that will then be released if they win the auction. This keeps people from bidding more money than they have or from backing out of the auction later. So fixed price, you use regular Ethereum. Timed auction will use this wrapped ETH, but it really doesn't matter to you as a seller which one is used. You still get paid in Ethereum. So let's go ahead and just go with fixed price. I'll set the price to 0.001 Ether, which is about $4.50, $4 to $5, depending on the day. The price can fluctuate. Right now it's about $4. And we'll set the sale duration to be 6 months. And you can see, of course, just like with Rarible, OpenSea is going to charge me a service fee for processing the transaction. And then I have to click complete listing. And this is where you'll notice something interesting. So if I want to complete the listing, I have to initialize my wallet. So this is something OpenSea makes you do if you're a new member. You have to actually attach your MetaMask wallet to OpenSea by paying a gas fee. A gas fee is a kind of a processing fee for binding the wallet to your OpenSea account. And at the time that I'm making this video, I don't have any money in my wallet, so I'm actually not going to be able to do this. You can see that the fee is actually pretty high. It looks like it's around $20 right now, so the fee to get your wallet associated is a little bit high. Gas fees are based on the number of transactions that are happening on the Ethereum blockchain. As Ethereum becomes more popular, the gas fees have tended to rise. But luckily, this is a one-time fee. Once you pay the fee, the wallet is set up and then you're done and you can confirm your item for sale. So at this point, if I wanted to finish this listing, I would now have to go ahead and pay this gas fee. I'd have to pay to have my wallet associated with OpenSea. So let's go over to Coinbase and see if we can actually add some money to the MetaMask wallet. So I'll go close this for a second. We'll decline that gas fee for the time being. And I'll go ahead and go back to Coinbase and we'll go to send. And we'll try to send maybe $20 or $30 worth of Ether over to MetaMask. So I'll click on the MetaMask plugin. This big number up here, that is my wallet ID. That's what I need. So I actually want to go ahead and plug that in here and then pay with Ethereum, and we will send maybe $30. And you can see right away that some of the money I've added, because it was added recently, is actually on hold. So Coinbase isn't going to let me send anything until the money clears from my bank, which could take a couple of days. So be aware that if you're planning to sell some NFTs, you need to get your Ethereum ready in advance. You need to make sure you have Ether sitting in a wallet ready to go in advance. Otherwise, you could have a problem like what I'm having right now, where I actually cannot send the funds from Coinbase to MetaMask, and therefore I can't list my item. So just make sure you're doing the sign up for the crypto exchange and for the wallets as far in advance of posting your NFT as you can. Don't worry if you end up in the same situation I'm in, where you don't have any Ethereum that you can actually send to MetaMask. You can leave your item sitting in your OpenSea account, so it's not going to go anywhere. If I go over to my collections, you'll see that Untitled Collection is sitting here, and once I have enough money to pay the gas fees, I'll just go ahead and set up the transaction, bind my wallet, and then I'll be done, and the item will be for sale on the OpenSea marketplace. And that's it. That's how you make NFTs. And that's it. That's really all there is to it. So this brings us to the end of the course. I want to thank you for joining me. And if you have any feedback about the course, be sure to share. I love the feedback. It's very helpful to me, and I will use your feedback to update the course. So hope to see you in the future. Bye-bye.